Greetings, everybody. Thanks for joining our webinar today. My name is Katie Paquette. I'm the Vice President for Media Relations and Strategic Communications here at Arizona State University. And we are excited to spend the next 60 minutes with you talking about going to class in the fall semester. That's our topic for today. We know there's a lot of questions about what the academic calendar and what classes are going to look like this fall. And joining me today is Dr. Fred Corey. And between the two of us, we hope to answer as many questions as possible about the academic experience this fall. Dr. Corey is the Vice Provost for Undergraduate Education. Fred, do you want to just say hello?
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to ASU. We're very, very excited to begin the fall semester.
We are actually here on the Tempe campus. It's a lovely warm day in Arizona. I want to just talk a little bit more about the structure for today's webinar. We are aware that the impacts of COVID-19 are evolving each day, and we are providing this series of webinars today, and we've been providing them every week throughout the month of July to answer your questions to the best of our ability and provide you with the latest information from ASU about our fall plans with what we know today. Today, we are only discussing topics related to going to class in the fall semester. A webinar about life on campus and health and safety measures that the university is taking will be held on Friday, July 31st. The first 20 to 30 minutes of this webinar will be a discussion around answers to some of the most commonly asked questions that students have shared with us to date about the upcoming semester. We will take live questions from Zoom webinar registrants only during the remaining 30 minutes of the webinar. So type your questions in the Q&A function for us to answer live. We won't be answering questions by texting in the chat function though. We are hosting a live stream on YouTube because this webinar did hit capacity, which is terrific. We're glad there's so much interest. Questions are not being taken on YouTube. Those watching on YouTube can send any unanswered questions to provost@asu.edu and we will get back to you. And just a note that this webinar will be recorded and shared on asu.edu/fall 2020. We also have all of our previous webinars posted on that site too. So if you're interested in going back and watching any of them, including the ones on campus life and health and safety measures, you can check those out there. So let's jump to the next slide, please. Before we begin, I mentioned that we are going to be talking a lot about the academics for the fall semester. And in particular, we're going to talk a lot about ASU Sync in today's webinar, which hopefully everybody listening has heard a little bit about or explored it. We have a new webpage that we've posted, provost.asu.edu/sync, where we've got lots of information about what the sync experience will be. So please feel free to check that out while you're listening or after the webinar. It's a really great informational source for information about sync. Next slide. All right, Fred, let's jump in here. Is there a chance that on-campus classes will be moved to fully remote like they were in the spring semester?
Well, we are monitoring the incidence of COVID-19 on a daily basis. We're watching all the numbers on a regular basis, monitoring everything very closely. And if we have to change plans, we will. As we demonstrated in the spring semester, we are very nimble, we're very agile and adept. I think that's one of the strengths of ASU. And so if we need to change plans, we will do so to ensure the health and safety of all of our students and members of the ASU community. That said, we are fully ready to open on August 20th, which is not that far away. And we are ready to welcome students to the ASU experience, whether on campus or through ASU Sync.
Excellent. Let's go to the next question. So tell our viewers, what exactly is ASU Sync?
You know, Katie, I think the best way to start with that is to look at that word sync. So sync is actually a shortened form of the word synchronous. And the word synchronous is an old Greek word. It means together in time. And that was a word from classical Greek that was modified by Latin because that's what the Romans did. They took things Greek and modified them. And the word has lingered through the ages. And it's come into common use in contexts other than ASU Sync. So we might hear people say something like, yeah, we're in sync. Okay, what does that mean? That means we're on the same page. We're thinking the same way. We are together in time. Or somebody might say, I'm going to sync my files. Okay, what does that mean? That means I have like an iPhone and a desktop, and I'm going to coordinate my files on those two devices. Again, we're back to together in time. We're going to bring all the data together in time. You know, in the 1950s, a wonderful, great sport emerged called synchronized swimming. And that's where people are all in the pool together and they are moving together in time with their legs, their arms, and it's just a beautiful example of synchronicity. You know, there was also in the 90s, there was a band. It was a boy band, they called it, called In Sync.
I'm very familiar with the
you are?
synchronized swimming.
Did you ever do synchronized swimming?
Oh, you know, on occasion with friends, or my daughters and I will hop in the pool and do handstands together and stuff. But...
Oh, isn't that fun when you do that together? I think it creates a sense of community when you try to do things together in time. So anyway, this band called In Sync, it featured people like Justin Timberlake and I think Lance Bass. I'm not sure who else. I should probably brush up on that since synchronicity is such a big deal. But the question is, why would a band be called In Sync? And the answer is, well, because they are going to be singing and dancing together in time and in harmony. And that's a great way to think about ASU Sync. ASU Sync is a remote learning technology where the teacher and the students are together in time, in harmony. But we're using a technology, so the students with ASU Sync in operation, you might have a scenario where some of the students are in the room, they're in person, and some of the students would be using ASU Sync, meaning they're together, but they're learning remotely. They're someplace else. They could be at home, they could be in the library, they could be in one of the residence halls, they could be at one of the learning pods that we have throughout the campus, but they are participating with the faculty and with all of the other students in the class together in time.
Right, so this photo on the screen here is supposed to be a demonstration of what a sync environment will look like. So you can see there are some students who are in the physical classroom with the professor, and then on the screen behind them are other members of the class who are participating via Zoom. They could be in their dorm rooms or at their home or in a different part of the country, depending on their circumstances. But that's a demonstration, an example of what a sync setup will look like.
And if I could add, you could even, this is a great example, you could even break into groups and the students who are in the room could also be in the Zoom space. Yes. On their cell phones, right? So you could be interacting with the students remotely, student to student. So there can be full, rich interaction using the ASU Sync platform.
Great. Okay, let's move on to the next question. So how do students sign up for ASU Sync?
Well, you don't need to do anything special at all. That when you register for a class, you will see that in your schedule, it's going to populate and it's going to say on your schedule, in-person/ASU Sync. And so this, I'm looking at the screen now. We're going to get to another example of how you can see this, how it displays in your My ASU screen in a moment. But when you want to attend via ASU Sync, do you see that button off to the right that it says attend via Sync? All you need to do is click that button and you will be brought right into the Zoom room in order to participate in the class remotely. So you don't need to do anything special to participate by ASU Sync. It's automatic.
You're enrolled as a typical student in ASU, which hopefully all of our, viewers who are watching, the students that are watching are already enrolled or making final decisions. And you don't have to do anything, as you said, you just enroll as you normally would. And you will always have that option for the majority of classes to attend via Sync.
Right.
Great. Let's go to the next question. How will a student know when they need to attend a class in person and when they will need to attend via ASU Sync?
Okay, so let's back up and look at the premise of that question. We're engaging in safe distancing practices, and so we're not going to have our rooms at 100% capacity. So if I've got a class and I've got 40 students and the room seats 40 people, I'm going to break the class into two separate groups, Group A and Group B. Group A attends in person on one day and via ASU Sync on the other day. And then they switch so that students are in class one day a week and attending remotely the other day of the week. And if it's a 3 times a week class, then we could divide the class into 3 groups. But your instructor, your professor will let you know before the semester begins what your attendance pattern should be, including attending the first day. So your professor will be in touch with you to let you know when you are in the classroom and when you are participating via ASU Sync.
Okay. Let's go to the next question. Will any of my classes be taught through ASU Sync only?
Yes, some of them will. So let's go back to the example of a large lecture. We're going to take the large lectures over 100 students, and we're going to put the lecture part on ASU Sync. Now, the labs and recitations, we're working to make those in person because those are smaller groups. But you will see on your My ASU, and let's do a deep dive into My ASU in a moment, but you're going to see a tag that says ASU Sync only. And that means that you don't go to the classroom, that you do go to the ASU Sync site in order to access the lecture part of that class. Now, there may be a few other exceptions where it is ASU Sync only. For example, we have some classes that are taught in local museums. And so we're going to be using a sync platform for those types of classes so that students are not moving into spaces where we're not able to control the distancing practices.
Okay, let's go to the next question. How will a student know if their classes require in-person attendance, and what should they do if they cannot be on campus?
Right. So there are some classes that, and there aren't that many, but there are definitely some classes where being there in person is necessary. And that's because there would be like in a ceramics studio with a kiln, that you need to have your hands on the kiln. Some of the fashion classes, most of the science classes, to be honest, because we've been working on this for years, is to figure out how to constantly improve remote learning possibilities. And so the science classes are pretty good. Most of those are not in person only, but there are some classes. I'm trying to think of some other examples for you. Oh, the audiology lab. The audiology lab requires in-person attendance. And so you will see that in-person tag only on that class. Now, the second part of your question was, what happens if I'm signed up for an in-person class and I cannot go? And it's, if you know you can't go, so if you know you're not going to be able to be on campus, then you should avoid signing up for those classes. But if over the course of the semester something happens, if you're not feeling well or if you become sick, then you need to coordinate with your professor, and we will work with you to come up with the most appropriate plan. And depends on where you are in your degree program. If you're in your final semester and this is a required course for the degree, then we will work up a plan of some sort. Each plan is going to have to be different depending on the student's situation. But we'll work with you to see, okay, maybe it's better for you to withdraw from this course and take it next semester when you're going to be able to attend in person, or highly individualized plan. But I think it is important to say that when you're building your schedule of classes, look for that note that you see on the screen. Oh, this is a different screen now.
Can we go back to 10 for a second? Slide 10.
We
There we
see,
go.
oh yeah, this class is not available via ASU Sync. So if you know that you're going to be studying remotely all semester, if you know that you're going to be staying in Denver, Colorado and not coming to Arizona, then you should avoid those classes. But as I said, if you do come and something happens, communicate with your professor, communicate with your advisor, and we'll do the best we can to build an accommodation.
So I might be jumping ahead on our questions here, but I think one of the questions that comes up regularly is, I need this class for graduation, but I can't be there. So what happens in that situation? Yeah,
then we'll have to work with your academic advisor. I mean, we don't want to shortchange you in terms of what you're learning in your degree, but we will work to see if we can find some accommodation so as not to delay your graduation.
Okay. And this is, do you want to talk about the example of the tuba class that we're looking at here?
Oh, right. So there are a lot of classes in the arts and in some of the sciences where it might say that you can attend remotely, but if you do that, then you're going to have some specialized equipment. So our example here is the tuba. So you can take the course in tuba, but you have to have a tuba at home or wherever you're learning from. So that becomes an important component of the learning process. Very hard to learn how to play the violin without a violin, although that may be advantageous for some people like me, or advantageous for the people in my household who don't want to have to hear me play the violin. But so it'll be some courses, and they'll make sense. When you see them, you'll go, okay, that does make sense. That I can't learn how to play the piano without a piano, and so if I want to take this class remotely, I need to have access to the necessary specialized equipment. What that equipment is, you should contact the instructor of the course. As I said, I think in most cases, it's going to be pretty obvious by the nature of the course itself, what your specialized equipment needs to be, but you should definitely communicate with your professor about your circumstance and what you need to do in order to be successful in that course.
Okay, let's go to the next slide. Another frequently asked question, what is an iCourse and how do students register for one?
So you will see on the schedule of classes, you will see a label on the location. It will say iCourse, and the I stands for internet. So ICOURSE, internet course. And this would be asynchronous. So asynchronous is not together in time. It's all online, and you can take that, you can go through that material at whatever time of day you want. iCourses have become very popular with students today, all across the country actually, because if I've got 5 classes, I might decide to take 4 classes in person and take 1 iCourse, just because it helps me manage my daily schedule better. I might have other obligations. I might have to, work. I might have to take care of my children. And so giving me that level of flexibility is good. You will see it in the schedule of courses. You will see iCourse. And when you get to your My ASU page, you will see that there is no facility, there is no location that it's called an iCourse.
Okay, let's go to the next question. Also very top of mind for lots of individuals, how will classrooms be set up to ensure student safety?
Well, this is top of mind for ASU too. Yes. We are going through a very careful process of determining how each classroom is going to be deep cleaned on a daily basis, and high touch surfaces like doorknobs and handrails will be cleaned twice a day. And so it is important that we have those rooms clean, but it's also important that when every student walks into a classroom, that the student takes advantage of the cleaning supplies that are made available in that room. So this is something that I think we're going to be living with on a regular basis going forward. I think that this is one of the outcomes of COVID-19, is that we're all learning about the importance of wiping down our personal space. So when I walk into the room, and I'll do it as a teacher too, I will take some of the cleaning supplies that are there, and I will wipe down the surfaces that I'm likely to touch. And so that will be another component of it. We're also engaged in distancing. Now, in a room like this, where we've got tables, that the instructor and students will be responsible for keeping a safe distance. And so we ask the students to cooperate with us, that we don't cluster. I know it's so tempting to want to sit close to your friends and whisper, but for the time being, we're going to have to pass on that. We can't sit together in little groups and chatter and giggle away. We have to keep our distance, and we have to also be wearing face coverings. Face coverings are required in all ASU buildings. Yeah, see, it looks good.
I was going to use that to prompt you, but you got there. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've got mine right here too. Teachers will be wearing them. Students will be wearing them. It feels a little awkward at first, right? I mean, I think we all, or most of us, went through that, putting it on at first. It feels a little self-conscious, but in short order, we get used to it. And now I personally feel very uncomfortable in a public space without it. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking to build this whole culture and community of care here at ASU, where wearing the face covering is an act of caring about other people. And we do. I think we all do. I hope everybody cares about other people. And so that will be a part of it. And that means, again, some of these highlights of clean your personal space, keep distance, wear a face covering, respect other people. And so those are all part of how we're going to keep our classrooms a safe environment for everybody.
Great. Let's go to there we go. All right. Will I be required to go to an in-person class if I am uncomfortable doing so for health concerns?
Absolutely not. Actually, we're asking people, if you feel sick, do not come to class. I can't say that enough times. If you wake up in the morning and you have a fever, if you wake up in the morning and you're sneezing, if you wake up in the morning and you have a cough that you can't seem to bring under control, do not come to class. Take advantage of ASU Sync. So anytime you feel uncomfortable coming into one of the classrooms, not only are you allowed to participate remotely, we want you to participate remotely so that you get better and so that we keep everybody safe and healthy.
Okay, next question. If I know that I cannot attend any classes in person on campus this fall, what do I need to do?
Well, okay, great. So what you want to do is sign up for the classes that are on your major map, on your program of study. And you want to make sure that you're not signing up for any of those courses that carry the note about being in person only. So don't sign up for any of those. And then what you should do is communicate with your professor and let your professor know that you will be attending remotely all semester. And that's first just something that the faculty like to know so that they can prepare. But also take that opportunity then to talk with the professor about the class itself and say, explain why you're taking the class. Hopefully you find the topic interesting. It might be in your major. It might be a general education course that you're taking because you found it very intriguing. And so go ahead and open that meaningful conversation with the professor about the class and where you will be during the semester and what you can do to excel. Not just in terms of where you'll be, but how you approach the material, how you should do the kinds of questions you should be thinking about. Take advantage of the entire opportunity.
The next question. Do I have to attend class in person after Thanksgiving?
No, if you have to complete the course and you have to do the work after Thanksgiving, but you don't need to do it in person. So if you are traveling home and you're getting on an airplane and you're going across the country, you do not need to board another plane and come back to Phoenix, Arizona for the week of classes and the final exam. But you still have to do that work. I do want to underscore that, okay? And we still have a week of class and we still have finals.
Mhm.
And being in Florida doesn't mean you don't have to take the final. So.
Okay. Okay, we are now ready to move on to the live Q&A portion of our webinar. So, and I've got lots of questions here. Just give me 1 second to get to them. Okay, first question. To clarify, when a class is designated as ASU Sync / in-person, does it mean a fully online experience is available for people off campus?
Sure. Well, the ASU Sync experience is
Yes.
fully online. So I'm going to use the word remote, that I can take the entire semester remotely. So yes, if I am in Chicago and I'm going to be off campus the entire semester, when it says in-person / ASU Sync, I can study remotely the entire semester.
Perfect. Okay. Here is our second question. We actually have a viewer from Egypt. We have an individual who's located in Egypt, and they said that their visa appointment was canceled twice. They're now going to take the first semester online. What if the second semester is online too, or any advice for that individual in terms of continuing remote or getting here in person?
Yeah, absolutely. So first, we have an office called the International Scholars and Students Center, and you can contact them directly, or actually you could just send your question to provost@asu.edu, and we have a direct line to that office where we can answer questions about visas. Now, as I think we all know, that the international travel restrictions have changed quite a bit recently, and we may expect them to continue changing. So we do have to stay on our toes and look on a regular basis on visa requirements. And so we need to connect you with the International Scholars and Students Center, where they will offer you personalized assistance with your visa applications. Was there any other part to that question that I missed?
No, I think that covered it.
Okay.
We have another viewer who said that they are going to have to drop classes because they were told that they would have to attend sometimes in person. And the individual said that they heard you say that they would not be forced to do that. And
Right.
I know that's the case. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So you need to send the details of that to provost@asu.edu, and we will work with the dean's office to make sure that the communication is all lined up and in order. But if you are signed up for a class that says in-person / ASU Sync, you are not required to attend in person. Okay. So alert us if with an institution this size, it's sometimes hard to make sure that everybody is sharing the correct information or phrasing everything correctly. So we can assist with the correction on that.
Okay. Another question from a viewer. Students who normally take public transportation but don't feel comfortable with this right now, will those students be forced to take classes in person?
No. If you're, it doesn't really matter the reason, that if you are uncomfortable taking public transportation and want to participate in your classes via ASU Sync from home, you can do that. Options are what we're trying to give people. And so we're not trying to manage all the details of everybody's personal situation. We've got people who, depending on what happens with our K through 12 schools, we will have students who are at home playing both student and teacher, for example. And so some of those students might choose to participate via ASU Sync in order to manage their households. Public transportation is another example. Living with somebody who might be at high risk and you want to minimize all risk. There's a myriad of examples of reasons why people would choose to participate via ASU Sync. And so we are receptive to all of those reasons.
Right. And just to underscore, what you're saying, everybody's lives are a little bit more complicated right now. And everybody's dealing with different, personal situations or personal circumstances. And as you said, our goal is to provide choices for students so that they can continue on their educational journey, no matter where they are or what they happen to be dealing with. And so the beauty of ASU Sync is we may have a student who says, I'm going to come to campus because I want to attend classes in person on the days that I can. They may decide 2 weeks in, I'd like to take the rest of the semester via ASU Sync, and they're free to do that. They can switch. And so the whole environment that we have set up for, the fall semester, and I think this will probably carry on into spring, is to provide maximum flexibility for students so that they have choices. And, but our goal is to get those students, finished through their academic journey and to be as flexible as possible.
Yeah, more complicated and more stressful. So anything we can do to reduce the amount of stress is something that we would want to do as well.
Okay. Another question here. In the last webinar, it was stated that lower division science labs would be available entirely via ASU Sync and that students should reach out to their instructors. This individual says their instructor said they have not received that information, and as far as they know, labs will be in person. Can you clarify?
Well, again, let us know what, share with us if you can share with us the message from the instructor who said that, then we will make the correction.
Okay.
Unless it says in person only, it is available via ASU Sync.
Okay. Yes, and again, just to reiterate, some labs will be and some classes will be in person only.
Yes, but it would say that.
Right.
In the schedule of courses, it's going to say that in that note that we looked at where it says this course is not available via ASU Sync. And then, do you mind if we talk about my ASU a little bit here?
No, go right ahead.
So when you go into my ASU, you will see your schedule of classes on the front page.
Fred, before you continue, does the tech team, do we have a slide that could correspond with this? If they do, they'll pull it up, but go ahead and keep talking.
So on your front page, you will see where it has your schedule of classes, and there would be a tag that says in person only. I think we did have a slide that showed that, or there are some where it says ASU Sync only. Mm-hmm. But then what you need to do always, and you already know this, click on the details tab, and then it's going to open up your whole schedule where it will show you exactly where your options are, and if the facility ID, is your classroom, that's lingo, that's jargon, the location of your class. It's going to tell you what building it's in, but it will also say ASU. So there it says in person only. All the other ones are available via ASU Sync. Although you might want to ask, look at that first one, BME 111. So why does that not say attend via Sync?
It's an iCourse
quiz. This is a quiz for the audience.
I know your co-host, I think, knows the answer because it's an iCourse, right? An internet course.
Yes, it's because it's an iCourse. Yeah, good job. Good job.
Okay, anything else to say about?
No, we tried to make the My ASU site as clear as possible. And so you'll see a lot of tags in there that will tell you the ways through which you can attend the course.
Right. And we don't want anybody to feel lost or confused. Again, if you have questions about the schedule, your particular schedule, how to navigate My ASU, email provost@asu.edu, and we will get in touch with you. Next question from one of our viewers. Will ASU Sync be continued through the entire fall 2020 semester?
Yes.
Okay.
I thought you were going to ask if it's going to continue through spring 2021. That we don't know yet. I mean, It's going to depend, but chances are it will, but definitely through the fall.
Great. Okay. Another question is, On the days where I have several classes, will I be able to coordinate with faculty so that on a particular day, all of my classes are remote or all in person? And, this individual is just, wondering about, they're trying to manage their drive time between home and on campus, for classes on the same day. So talk a little bit about that. Is it possible to
I totally understand. What you should do is write to your faculty, explain your entire situation. So it's like if you say, look, I've got 3 classes in person on Tuesday. Yours is the only one I've got in person on Thursday. Could I switch to a Tuesday slot? And faculty are nice people. I mean, they're going to see what they can do.
You're one of them.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah. I mean, what I would do is I would just say, first, I may be well under 50% and could make that accommodation, or it might turn into a game of pit where you trade, right?
Mhm.
Pit's an old card game where you would go, Tuesday, I want a Tuesday. And so that could be where people are able to swap out and make their lives more manageable. We can't choreograph that at the university level because we have just too many variables. There's a lot of classes that actually only meet once a week. And so your schedule is going to be unique to you. And so see if you can't work with the faculty to get the courses lined up. But I would certainly try that myself.
Okay. Next question. Can you outline criteria for determining class delivery? This individual is asking because they say their fall classes designation on my ASU keeps changing. The majority have moved from ASU Sync / in person to ASU Sync only.
Okay, now those would be the large classes, over 100. And so those we did switch to ASU Sync only. The question that is, why do these things keep changing on the modality? Why would the modality be changing? And I'm going to be honest, I mean, there will be some more changes between now and August 20th, just because we're always surveying the data, surveying the landscape, making the best decisions we can to ensure the health and wellness of everybody involved. And so when we make a decision like a large lecture class, it's done with you in mind. And
Okay.
and I know it is. I would just simply acknowledge that it's like, hey, wait, I looked at my schedule yesterday and the modality was different than it is today. And so, yes, but it's all done for you.
Okay. Next question. Will medical documentation or any type of documentation be required to opt out of in-person class attendance?
No, because again, let's go back to that example of I wake up and I have a fever. I'm not going to go to a doctor between now and 9:45, right? So we're on our best honor system here that no, you don't need a doctor's note to say you're not feeling well.
We hope if you are feeling well and you are, at a day where you are supposed to go in person, that you do take advantage of that.
Oh my gosh. I mean, look, going to class, I know sometimes it seems like a drudgery, but you're going to look back and say, oh my gosh, listening to that professor, it was one of the most memorable things in my life. And so, yeah, come to class. I mean, I've been teaching for a long time, and having that interaction with students is really important. It's important to the whole learning experience. So take advantage of going to class when you can.
Okay. Next question. So one of our viewers is asking for clarification. The ASU website indicates that the expectation for out-of-state students is that they attend class on campus via Sync. However, if they are unable to return to campus, they can email the professor to let them know. Is this correct?
Yeah, we should take a look at the web and make sure that our language is clear and appropriate. So you're an out-of-state student, and I assume that you're attending remotely the whole semester. Is that the assumption here?
That is the assumption here.
Yeah, then no, you don't need to come to campus. So we are flexible and accommodating of out-of-state students who will be learning remotely the whole semester.
Okay. One of our viewers is asking, Is ASU Sync just Zoom with a fancy name?
No, no, because we've equipped the rooms with a lot of equipment. I mean, the technology involved in setting up these rooms. So we've got all the myriad of different structures that we've got going with the classroom equipment
Yeah.
that makes it interactive and kind of, we hope, kind of fun.
Well, there's the classroom equipment, and then there's also the different technologies that faculty will be using to actually deliver the course. So, Zoom may be the delivery modality, but faculty are using lots of different technologies in order to convey material and, have the sort of elements of the class available via this setup, right?
It's a great point. Actually, let's talk about two of them. One of them is our learning management system, which is Canvas. And that becomes a course shell. And that's where you're going to find all of your assignments and discussion boards and activity spaces. Another one is our e-portfolio system, which has become extremely popular in classes where students create portfolios that become a showcase for all of your work. And you can share that portfolio with the other students in your class. So there are narratives, there are examples of formulas, hypotheses that you're working through, some bits of personal history that you include. And so that becomes a part of the comprehensive learning experience in thousands of our classes, actually, that that's an enrichment of the whole Zoom experience, because it's not really, as you said, Zoom is just a platform that we're using for some of the communication channels, but the entire experience is far richer.
Right, and supported by dozens of different technologies.
Yes.
Okay, next question. I am a higher risk individual and want to be fully remote. How can I go about making sure that fully remote is a possibility?
So it is, unless you've got a course. Don't sign up for a course that's in person only. And you will see that after you sign up for it, you'll see the tag on your schedule in My ASU. So don't sign up for any of those. There aren't that many. And then what you should do is communicate with your professor and explain that you will be attending remotely all semester and that you want to get the most out of the experience. And as I said, that what you should do is talk about the course. You should visit during office hours, and office hours can be remote, or they can be on the telephone, or they can be in person, but schedule a Zoom meeting with your professor. I've actually had two so far already in my class this fall who have written to me. They've told me that they're going to be attending remote all semester. And I said, well, let's have a meet and greet before the semester begins, and we can talk about the course and what's involved. And so ask if, as soon as the semester begins, your faculty will be available for those one-on-ones, but most are available right now. So just reach out and say, let's connect. I would love to talk to you about the course.
Okay. Next question is from an individual who says they're a commuter student and all of their classes are listed as ASU Sync / in person. They're wondering, in the event they have a day where they are on campus for class and they have Zoom classes, will there be a place available with Wi-Fi for them to attend their Zoom lecture?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's a great question. So we've got 4 campuses in the metropolitan Phoenix area. And yes, each campus is set up with spaces. So there's the library, there are learning pods, there are lounge type spaces. And as soon as the temperatures calm down, that there are outdoor spaces that students can use for Zoom interaction. We're insisting on safe distancing practices throughout. So we're taking advantage of all the spaces we can so that students can sit down and go and Zoom into their class.
Okay. One of our viewers wants to know, how will exams work?
It's individual by class, but there'll be we're not going to crowd people into a lecture hall to take to take their exam, obviously. Now, smaller classes, there could be in-person exams, but we can deliver a lot of these standard exams through the internet, and we use online proctoring devices. So I would be perhaps, if it's a traditional exam like a multiple choice exam, I would be sitting in a room just like this, and I would have the exam in front of me, and I would need a camera so that the proctoring could take place, to make sure that I wasn't going like that to come up with answers.
Okay.
So we've been doing this for years, by the way. This is not a new, online exams are not a new phenomenon for us. So we have a lot of experience in this space.
Okay. Why is ASU offering in-person classes while K through 12 are mostly going online and other things are closing down?
So we are following, we're working very closely with public health officials on how we create safe environments for learning. I can't comment really on why K through 12 is, different schools are doing different things, and I don't want to comment on why somebody else is doing what they're doing. But I will say that ASU is trying to create a safe environment with distancing practices, where we create a culture of community care, where people engage in appropriate distancing practices, wearing face coverings, minimizing risk, and students who want the option of attending in person should be given that opportunity.
Right. And nobody's being forced to, again, if you don't want to attend in person, you don't have to. So you have choices for the fall semester. Okay. Will tutoring centers be open?
Absolutely. They'll be open. We're moving a lot of those online. But that's another area that we have been working on. Tutoring is so important. So let's go ahead, and if you'll indulge me, I'll talk about why tutoring is important. So we offer a full range of tutoring here at ASU in subjects like mathematics and science, in statistics, in psychology. So we offer content-based tutoring, and we also offer writing assistance with writing. The writing centers on each campus help students formulate their rhetorical composition. Very important to engage in those tutoring services. I would say to you students, don't wait until you get a bad grade on a test before going to tutoring. We offer tutoring both in person and online. So we have online tutoring capacity. We've been growing that capacity over the years, and now students who are either completely remote or would rather participate in tutoring through the online platform are encouraged to do so.
Okay. Another question from one of our viewers, will I be able to do all in sync? Not in sync. Sorry, Fred. Now you've got me focused on the boy band.
Oh, but no. Can you sing it?
I can, but I'm not going to. Will I be able to do all sync because of health concerns for family members?
Absolutely.
Okay. Another viewer is wondering, is there a way I can go to the campus for every class with no ASU Sync? So the opposite of the previous question.
Well, not if you sign up for a course that says ASU Sync only. So you'll see on your My ASU that there are some classes that will be tagged ASU Sync only, and those will have no in-person component. So what you could do is work with your academic advisor to maximize the in-person possibilities.
Mm-hmm. Okay, if a professor can't teach in person, what happens with the class? Does it go remote, or are there backups?
Right. I mean, that's a great question, because faculty are people too, and could get sick. So I was director of a school for a long time, and I know how that works from that perspective. We never cancel a class, ever, ever, ever. We never would just say, okay, this class is over. We would either, if it's going to be a long-term illness, we find a well-qualified and experienced faculty member who would assume responsibility for that class. If it's a short-term illness, then the faculty member could create online exercises, or we could create an environment where students are still coming to class and we have an instructional assistant in the room who would help with the facilitation and in-room activities, but the faculty member could participate remotely, just like a student who's participating remotely. So we've got multiple options there, and the head of the academic unit would help the faculty member make the best choice given the circumstances facing that individual faculty member.
Okay, can a professor decide to start holding in-person classes during the middle of the semester?
Well, that would be unusual. I'm trying to visualize the circumstances under which that would occur. I mean, the only one I can think of is that I plan on teaching a course in person, and lo and behold, on August 20th, I become ill. But that would be highly unusual. I can't visualize how that would really become a common occurrence. Do you think I'm missing something?
Well, this individual is asking if, in the middle of the semester, a professor could just decide to say, I'm just going to go all in person.
Oh, all in person?
Yeah, decide to start holding in-person classes during the middle of the semester.
No. You mean no.
Okay.
And by the way, students, when you do hear something like that, I mean, if you ever had a situation where, like, the professor said something very strange, like, oh, I've changed my mind, you all need to come to class every day. Notify us, tell us. You can either use provost@asu.edu, or you can go to the head of the academic unit offering the course, or the dean. Really, you could tell just about anybody in the administrative structure, and we'll work through that with you. So, I mean, we'll fix it.
Okay. Another question from one of our viewers is, I was fortunate enough to borrow a laptop from the library. What are options that are available to students who need printing resources? So where do students go to print things out?
Yeah, I mean, first, I don't think we're doing a lot of printing anymore, are we? I mean, mostly faculty are using the digital portfolios or Canvas for submission of work. But there are printing capabilities on campus in the libraries and in the computing centers.
Okay. Another question. I am an international student living in California. My ASU says all my classes are via ASU Sync. My advisor suggested I come back to Arizona before the semester starts to avoid visa issues, but I'm concerned about my health while traveling back. What should I do?
Contact the International Scholars and Students Center. Again, those guidelines are very important. They're coming out of the federal government. There have been some recent changes in those guidelines, and the International Scholars and Students Center would have the most up-to-date information and will look at your individual case. If you don't remember, if you don't know how to reach them, just go back to the provost@asu.edu. And as I said before, we have a direct line to that center where we can get you connected with an appropriate professional.
Okay. What would happen if a student were to get COVID and was unable to attend class or do classwork due to the illness? What are the options for that student?
Well, first, we take care of your health. I mean, that is number one on the list, is absolutely to protect your health with great ferocity. So we have a great health center here at ASU, and what you should do is call the health center and let them know about your personal situation so that you can attend to your health, and we will be right there with you. So in terms of the class, there isn't a common or singular experience with the COVID. Some people seem to be mildly functional. So if you are still functional, then stay home, stay in, the protective environment where you are. And if you're up for it, you can Zoom into your classes. If you are not up for it, we have an option called the medical withdrawal. And that's where you submit the documentation showing that you have contracted COVID, and that your college, your home college, you go to the college of your major, not the class. And we would work through the medical withdrawal for you with your whole schedule. So that's actually an important component. If you become ill and you need to pursue the medical withdrawal, you should contact your academic advisor, who would connect you with your home college. You don't go to each class individually to get the medical withdrawal. It's done through your dean's office for your entire schedule.
Okay, we've got about 4 minutes left in the webinar, so we'll try to tick through a couple more questions in the remaining time. This is a good one. Will there be additional assistance for the sync classes from TAs or professors?
Well, that depends on the class, honestly. So, most of our classes are actually small. And so it's very easy just to say to the professor, I'm having a hard time making this work. And so then we can get you the help you need for that particular thing. Again, this is something that we're not unaccustomed to. So in my class, for example, we use Canvas and we use these digital portfolios. And the worst thing you can do is not do the work because you can't figure out how the digital portfolio works. You've got to tell the teacher, I'm not getting this. So that we can get you the individual help you need. In most cases, the professor is going to be able to help.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We talked a little bit about this earlier, but let's touch on it again. If a student only has 1 or 2 classes to complete and they're not offered remotely, that may impact their graduation date. So what efforts are being made to assist students with graduation?
Okay, now again, this is going to be a fairly limited number of students, and we need to take it by major. So these would be students in some of the studio arts or maybe speech and hearing science. So most students should not need to worry about this. These in-person courses are limited to their to some of these studio or laboratory-based curricula. So what you should do is contact your advisor. And contact your advisor right away.
Okay.
But there should not be general worry about this. I mean, these are highly specialized programs where we'll see this occur.
Okay. If an individual learns better by being in class, can they make that request of the professor that they attend in person?
All classes in person. So that's going to depend on the room capacity and the number of students enrolled. Mm-hmm. That if we can't exceed 50% capacity and we're aiming for less. So I understand the desire to be in person in all classes, and that is going to depend on the individual student's schedule.
Okay. And Fred, can you talk a little bit more about the library? Is the library, we have a question from a viewer who's asking whether or not the library is open by appointment only at this time, and what's the fall going to look like?
Oh, no. And actually, I mean, we have multiple libraries across all campuses, and you should see the new library on the Tempe campus. It's the old Hayden Library, which is now a mid-century modern spectacle. It's just fantastic. And so, no, there will be distancing practices in all of the libraries. Noble Library out at West is a beautiful, beautiful place. Fletcher, sorry. It's Fletcher Library at West. Noble is a science library in Tempe. So no, they'll be fully functional with distancing.
And there's beautiful shaded space on next to the library on the Tempe campus. So it'll be nice for sitting outdoors and
make sure if you're downtown, make sure you do visit it's actually not, we don't even use the word library, we call it computing commons. And that building was an old bank building. And so you can see the vault down there, and it's been turned into a work of art, and it's just stunning. So make sure you visit the library downtown.
Well, Fred, we made it through almost 30 questions today, just about, and it's 2:00. So that concludes our webinar. Thank you so much for all of your insightful answers, and hopefully our viewers found this helpful and informative. If you have any remaining questions, if you had a question that was not answered or something else came to mind, please feel free to email provost@asu.edu, and we will follow up with you. And just a reminder that our next webinar is next Friday, July 31st from 2 to 3 p.m. Arizona time. And that's where we'll talk about life on campus. So what is housing going to look like? What's dining going to look like? Are there going to be events on campus? All that great stuff that we know lots of folks are interested in. You can register at asu.edu/fall 2020. And stay in touch. We really look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks, and stay well in the meantime. And again, here's just a reminder of additional resources. If there's additional questions, you can visit asu.edu/fall 2020. That's where we've got as much information as possible about the fall 2020 semester. Provost.asu.edu/sync if you want to have more questions or want to just learn a little bit more about ASU Sync. If you have questions about your course or degree requirements or class schedule, again, provost.asu.edu. If you have any technology needs, we know that everybody's going to be learning in some type of remote learning environment. You may have computer needs or some other technology needs. Please, again, email provost@asu.edu. We want to make sure that you have what you need to perform your studies to the best of your ability. For any student services and campus life questions, you can contact Dean of Students at asu.edu. And for cleaning, facilities, or operational questions, you can contact bf-operations@asu.edu. And if you're an admitted graduate student and you have questions, you can contact gograd@asu.edu. And I know we have an upcoming webinar focused specifically on graduate students as well. So thank you to all of our viewers for tuning in today, and stay in touch. In the meantime, stay well, be well, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you in a few weeks. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Bye.